welcome back to my channel, or hi if you're new. My name is Emma, complete grad, film student, and I'm going to start this video off by saying I'm very sorry. There have been roadworks on my street for the past like 2 weeks. I've tried to wait them out, has not been successful. It's been driving me up the wall. But yes, here we are. We have another bloody book haul. I am on a no-buy after having looked in my last book video through my bookshelf. I have realised A, I have a problem, B, there is so much good stuff that I haven't read on here. I even had in this pile I accidentally had Patha, because like I've grabbed this because I'm like, I have got to read this. I'm so this is one of the things next to my TBR. It's not on my TBR even though I've had it for a number of years. You know, these purchases occurred before I did said video and realised quite how many books I have. I was considering counting them the other day. Somebody asked me and I'm just like, no, we can't do this. Because if I actually do that, you can then quantify the issue that I have. So without any further ado, let me add 6 more books onto this bookshelf. We're having organisational issues already, which I think I've told you guys about. There's just a lot. I bought more books because I like them. A couple of these TikTok bullied me into, a couple of these I just couldn't help myself, and a couple of these are downright curiosity and an ongoing desire to expand my literary horizons but also decolonialise my bookshelf. Have a good think about the last couple of things you read. Have they been written by cis straight white men? And now you see my point. Also, just as a note, can we have some commotion for the dress? It goes down to like mid, so love it. So love it. The key, I think, for like autumn and early spring is for sure dresses with sleeves. Anyway, now that we've had that PSA out of the way, right, let's start with an obvious place. If you are a long-time subscriber of my channel, couldn't not pick up Calvino. Calvino is somebody who is an absolute bibliophile. This man loves books. He is the perfect person to read if you love books. He's really well known for If on a Winter's Night, A Traveller. Highly recommend that if you want to start out with Calvino. I recently read his Baron in the Trees, To the Distance of the Moon. Really loved those. So I wanted to go ahead and get some of his non-fiction. I am still doing a video on where I read classics, don't worry, but Calvino has an essay on that. It's not in here, but I did read it for my undergrad and I really recommend it. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I just wanted to have a little bit more of this man's voice, his mentality, and just his ideas. Italo Calvino, 6 memos, not memes, for the next millennium. And obviously living in the next millennium, 2022, I figured who better readers for this than us? Words connect the visible track to the invisible thing, like a fragile makeshift bridge cast across. Words connect the visible track to the invisible thing, like a fragile makeshift bridge cast across the void. With imagination and wit, Italo Calvino sought to define the virtues of the great literature of the past in order to shape the values of the future. His effervescent, good word, last works, left unfinished at his death, were the Charles Eliot Norton Lectures, which he was due to deliver at Harvard in 1985-6. The surviving drafts explore the literacy concepts close to his heart: lightness, quickness, multiplicity, exactitude, and visibility. Brackets. Constancy was said to be the 6th. In serious yet playful essays that reveal his debt to the comic strip and the folktale, this collection, now in a fluid and supple new translation, supple, also a good word, is a brilliant précis of the great writer whose legacy will endure throughout the millennium he addressed. As a lover of Calvino, who is brainwashing you all into buying his books, I feel like that sounds very true. I have Calvino's novels in the vintage editions, so I'm going to try and keep all of his non-fiction in these penguin editions. We know I am particular about editions. I guess I kind of wanted this because I wanted like a little bit more like light non-fiction or like light philosophy. Light philosophy, is that even a thing? I am here realistically with Calvino for the thoughts and the vibes. I am so emotionally attached to his fiction that I just can't. Why not? I also think this will probably be a quick read for me. If you want an update, yes, I am still reading Crime and Punishment. And it is not for a lack of enjoying that book. The problem with it is if you put it down, you don't pick it up for like a couple weeks. Making my way through it, I am really enjoying it. I'm 2/3 of the way through, so I'll get there. So I just want some like quick things to blast through so that my Goodreads total doesn't completely go to shit. That's kind of the memo with this. But you I love. This is the man. This is a man who has yet to disappoint me, shall we say. Next up, I bought The Romance of the Three Kingdoms. This is by Guanzhong. If I said that wrong, I apologise, please correct me. I bought this in Daunt Books on Marylebone High Street. It's in my book tour video. One of the things I really like and really rate about Daunt there is that they organise their books by area. They do it by location in that effort to read more widely, read different stories, read about different cultures, languages, all of that. It's a really good place to go and have a look for different things. So I found this in the Asia section. This is a Chinese novel. This is one of the 4 classics of Chinese literature. The other 3 are on screen for you there, if you want to pause that for a second. But really I picked this up again out of sheer curiosity. The fact is, like, I don't know anything about Chinese literature. I know very little about Asian literature, East Asian literature specifically, and that I have done has always been through a very post-colonial lens. I think this is honestly just like a little exploration, and I watched like Ran and stuff, so having that been based on Shakespeare, I feel like this is probably the same medieval vibe. This is 14th century though, right? Ooh. Oh my god, there are pictures! Sick, no way. Oh, and there's a map. There's a map, there's a map, there's a map, there's a map, there's a map. There is a map. There is a map. You can't see any of that, but yeah. Empires arise from chaos and empires collapse back into chaos. This we have known since time began. A vast human epic of warlords, schemers, heroes and villains battling for the throne, The Romance of the Three Kingdoms has enthralled readers for more than 500 years, dramatising the violent destruction of a Han dynasty in the 2nd century, the tumultuous rise of the Three Kingdoms vying to dominate China. This blend of real events, legend and magic shows what happens when justice and wisdom are corrupted by ambitious tyrants, treacherous courtiers, betrayers and intriguers. This new translation and abridgment brings together the most gripping stories and battles from the original novel in one seamless narrative. Like, does that not sound like it ticks every fucking box? This really sounds up my fucking street. So I'm almost annoyed that this just like, I had to find this for myself, that nobody recommends this, that nobody like, you know, within like my cultural sphere, that nobody talks about it, that nobody like knows about it. So I'm like, ooh. And I guess for me, that's the other thing is I have quite a few Chinese friends, so I just kind of want to engage more in like their culture too. I'm like, tell me things, give me recommendations. I am so fucking down. And then it really sucks when they give me a novel and they're like, I love this book, it's my favorite, and I look it up and there isn't a good English translation. Christ. So, you know, as your classics gal, I'm super excited to give this one a go. If you're Chinese or East Asian and you have any recommendations of books that are like classics for your country, and I'm sure many of my audience would be so down for any recommendations. This just sounds fun, and the vibes I'm picking up is more like this kind of is maybe to Chinese literature what the Iliad and stuff is to Western literature. There may be a bastardization and a generalization, but obviously I haven't read this yet, so once I do, I will let you know how I stand on that and do some more research, of course. So yeah, there we go. Excited about that. It sounds fucking good. Next one that I picked up because it was pretty. You're allowed to do that, you are allowed to. I like pretty editions, leave me alone. Didn't I just spend a whole video saying that I don't like pretty editions? I'm not allowed to write in this one. I've agreed, okay? I'm not writing in this one, but that's fine. Books are allowed to be beautiful cultural objects in their own right. Anyway, this is Junichiro Tanizaki, In Praise of Shadows. We find beauty not in the thing itself, but in the patterns of shadows, in the light and the darkness that one thing against the other creates. Were it not for shadows, there would be no beauty. This slim book you're holding is in fact a portal. Opening it, you'll be led by Junichiro Tanizaki's light touch into the mysterious and tranquil world of darkness and shadows, where gold flashes in the gloom and a deep stillness reigns. If you are accustomed to equate light with clarity, the faded with the worthless and the dim with the dreary, prepare for a courteous but powerful realignment of your ideas. That is a very sexy blurb. That is a very sexy blurb. That is very well written. Well done, Vintage. I don't know if you guys know this, but on the back of all of the Vintage editions, it will actually say the century and like what it is, like counts as. This has a little 20th philosophy. This just looks honestly like a beautiful, beautiful little book. And I think that's what I wanted. It's Japanese and I just wanted to know more. Again, like I said, in line with Romance of the Three Kingdoms, I just would like more varied things to engage with culturally, because I think if you always are in, if you're always reading one kind of literature, or if you're always reading one kind of story by one set of people, all of that kind of stuff, like, I think you get into like a bubble, or like really becomes repetitive and I get bored. I think that's part of what it is. Part of why I read so widely is like, I just need more, my brain needs more. I always want new ideas, I always want to be challenged with the way that I think. If there is a better way of thinking, I want to find what it is. And often people don't know what their values are, they don't know where they stand, they don't know what their opinions are until they have them challenged. And I think that is a very, very important thing to actively do for your entire existence. I mean, you know I love Descartes. You know I love Descartes. This is part of Descartes. It's like the whole idea that you shouldn't accept dogma, and the fact that you should continuously challenge your own perceptions of your life and of your existence and of your beliefs in order to make sure to know really where you stand. And that is philosophy, but I guess that is the philosophy behind me liking philosophy. But this was just pretty, and I like it, and the blood was cool, so I bought it. I really wish I had something more intellectual to offer you, but that's kind of just, that's how you buy books. It's just marketing and I fell for it, but that's fine. Ah, here we go. In Praise of Shadows is a poetic paean to traditional Japanese aesthetics. In a free-ranging style that moves from architecture to no theatre and from cookery to lighting, Tanizaki teaches us to see the beauty in tarnished metal, the sombre dignity in unglazed pottery, the primacy of organic materials that bear witness to the touch of human hands. It is also astonishingly prescient, offering a gentle warning against the quest for airbrushed perfection and reminding us that too much light can pollute and obscure our natural world. What, so something in praise of the imperfect? I feel like nowadays we can definitely do with a touch of that, no? This is gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to this. Next, we have, don't judge me too much for this one, or maybe do. I saw this recommended on TikTok actually. Regretting Motherhood, a study by Orna Dornath. Just think about how often women are told, for example, oh, you'd be great with kids, or sometimes I think many of us hold the conviction that we would be really, really good mothers. But I was thinking about it because I have long held that conviction about myself. I'm like, oh, I'd be a great mother, I'd be a great parent. But then the question is, on what basis do I think that? Like, on what basis do I think that at all? Women are very, very much conditioned to believe that motherhood is an essential part of our existence, part of who we have to be in order to be valuable to the society in which we live. Is only, like, we're only valuable if we're mothers, if we're willing to have kids, etc. And as somebody who doesn't think she sees a future without children, I felt like it is worth challenging what my beliefs are now and like addressing that, I guess, in a way, because I don't want to be somebody who wakes up, you know, and regrets having had kids, because some women do, and it is such a taboo thing to talk about. I've been flicking through this and so many of these women are saying really similar things in terms of they love, love, love their children, but they regret motherhood. So often we seem to see it as an identity thing of being mum, whatever, that you forget that it comes with a job. And especially after having read Kate Mann's Entitled, one of the things she talks about a lot is domestic labour, and how even in couples where they have very similar jobs, earn similar amounts of money, work similar hours, that the woman's load of childcare is still astronomically more than that of the father's, and of the time the father does spend with the child, this is specifically in heterosexual relationships, half the time the father spends with the child is spent playing. So, really curious to just hear this spoken about, because it really isn't. Women are guilt tripped to hell and back for not wanting kids. Also, I bought it on my mum's Amazon account, so my brother saw it and was momentarily betrayed by her until I had to clarify things, but it's fine. Women who opt not to be mothers are frequently warned that they will regret their decision later in life, yet we rarely talk about the possibility that the opposite might also be true, that women who have children might regret it. Drawing on years of research interviewing women from varying socioeconomic, educational, professional backgrounds, sociologist Orna Dornath treats regret as a feminist issue. As regret marks the road not taken, we need to consider whether alternative paths for women currently are blocked off. She asks us to pay attention to what is forbidden by rules governing motherhood, time and emotion, including the cultural assumption that motherhood is a natural role for women, for the sake of all women, not just those who regret becoming mothers. If we are disturbed by the idea that a woman might regret becoming a mother, Dornath says our response should not be silence and shame these women. Rather, we need to ask honest and difficult questions about how society pushes women into motherhood and why those who are reconsidering it are still seen as a danger to the status quo. Groundbreaking, thoughtful and provocative, this is an essential needed book in our current political climate as women's reproductive rights continue to be at the forefront of national debates. I'm so gassed to read this. And again, the interesting, I want to be like, oh, don't get me wrong, I really want to have kids. So like, why is it also like my ingrained reaction to like preface that I want to read this even though I want to have kids? But then my question is like, why do I want to have, like, why do I want them? Why do I think I would be a good mother? To what extent have I been brainwashed socially? You know, and this happens since birth. Like, you as a child, especially if you're a woman, you get given dollies and babies and all of that kind of stuff. Like, you are basically groomed from the moment you exist as a woman to be a mother. Is that not kind of weird? And obviously it makes sense, like if you're a little like girl and you want to be like mummy at that point probably has a baby, so you want to have a baby too. But yeah, just if we just think about it like that for just a split second, you're like, And also these are like ingrained prejudices that you kind of have to actively work against. Vivid memories of as a teenager, when some of my friends expressed that they don't want children, that my first initial reaction was something like, oh, why? But you'll change your mind. Everybody wants to have kids. But now as an adult, when my friends say like, oh, I don't want kids, I'm like, cool, don't. If I have them and you want to borrow mine for a bit, cool, you can then give them back. That's fine. But the thing is, like, motherhood is like, it's a job. Like, for so many women it's a job, so I'm like, is this a job I want to do? And this is also like a thing for me in terms of like, I really want to have a career. So I'm like, I'm terrified of like motherhood and being a career woman, you know, this is gonna like clash, and then if I want to do this so much, what is even the point of me doing this? You know, all of the guilt and all of the shame that is wrapped up into wanting to have a career, wanting to do things for yourself, but then also wanting to have kids and a family, all of that, which is a lot of guilt that men do not experience. Men do not have to make this choice, or what feels like a choice where women do. This is something that I'm very much interested in. It's also, as a filmmaker, something I want to explore in some of my work. Like, for sure, I will definitely make films that touch upon things like this, because it's so interesting. It is such like a visceral debate as well, because people have such strong opinions on this. Also people who have no business having strong opinions on this. But yeah, I really hope this is good, and I just am interested in multiple perspectives on something such as this. It's also in part, not absolutely not fully, but I've started volunteering recently. It's with a charity called Bookmark. If you're in London, I really recommend, and the UK, I really recommend having a look at them. They have volunteers help little kids, you know, catch up on their reading and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of part of my motivation for wanting to volunteer specifically with kids, because it's like, yeah, why, you know, when was the last time I actually interacted with a child since I think my little brother was a kid? Like, why do I think I would be good with kids? Because, yeah, when was the last time I actually spoke to a child? Like, babies are cute, but then they also grow up and become real, like, people. That is just something I'm interested in, especially as a woman, by the time you see this, now in her mid-20s. So, the societal pressures are still very, very effing real. And I think you guys, my audience, would definitely, many of you would find something like this interesting. So, once I read that, I will, of course, share my thoughts with you. Next up, I bought a couple silly little novels, because I like to read silly little books too. Which one shall I go with first? Which is the less embarrassing one? Right, we're gonna go with this. TikTok bullied me into buying this. I just look, when you say that there is a correlation between wingspan and I have to investigate. I have to investigate. I have no shame. We know this already. I have to investigate. This is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It is a series. There are multiple books. They are beautiful, and I want to probably will end up reading all of them. That's not the point. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Freya is a huntress. The skin of a wolf would bring enough gold to feed her sisters for a month, but the life of a magical creature comes at a steep price, and Freya has just killed the wrong wolf. Dun, dun. Taken prisoner by the High Fae Lord, Freya learns that her master captor is hiding even more than his piercing gaze suggests. But as Freya's feelings for Tamlin begin to burn through every warning she's heard about his kind, a shadow is falling across the land. And if Freya cannot fight it, she will lose everything. Sweeping romantic fantasy series by #1 New York Times bestseller author Sarah J. Maas. It's fairy porn. There is just so much of this crap all over BookTok and all over TikTok. If you didn't know, BookTok just is the horniest side of TikTok. Like, it genuinely, y'all are so feral. People are fucking feral over this book series. So I just have to go and say, I feel like it's my civic duty to my audience to go through and, you know, give you my professional opinion on if this is worth your time. And don't worry, as I go through it, I will of course, for those of you who really want to avoid anything in any way spicy, I'll make sure that I mark down where the spicy chapters are so you can avoid it. So you can avoid them, so you can, yeah. Cool. Books. Okay, I bought another silly little romance book. Where's my other one? It's all over there. This is Collided by Lauren Asher. It is the second book in her Dirty Air series. I already read this one. It's called Throttled. Well, I bought her second one in the fact that there even are discrete covers says everything you need to know about this book. This, pretty much like the other one, I have low expectations in terms of, I'll be brutal, in terms of quality, in terms of literary quality. I have a little bit more higher expectations for this. I want to read this because it's well written, it's an interesting world build, etc, etc. This I just want to read because it's dumb. This is a romance novel set within the world of F1. It is the second one in Lauren Asher's series, Dirty Air. It's a technical term. This has characters in it that are introduced in her first novel in the series, Throttled, so I'm kind of already emotionally involved in the characters that star in this, shall we say. And because the new season of F1 has just started, you know, I need my fix, shall we say. Like I said in the last time that I bought a book from this series, I am too old to be reading fan fiction written by 14-year-olds, and I also don't want to read about real people anymore. You know, we're not doing it. So this is where this comes in. Liam is Formula One's golden boy, but he's nothing but a fraud, charming, devious, seductive, and someone who promises to fulfill all my naughty bucket list items. It's the shit. Who reads it? I force him behind the safe lines of the friend zone instead of accepting our friendship. He strikes a deal. One season, one list, one dirty secret. That was for Sophie. This is for Liam. I'm telling you, it's people who wrote fanfiction as teenagers and now have book deals. Liam. Sophie is my greatest fantasy brought to life and a major threat to my contract renewal. She's part of the rival team and somebody I should resist at all costs. Everyone is against our friendship. My boss, her dad, me. Yet I'm captivated by her naughty list she created. Screw platonic. I want catastrophic. Remember how you all said you come to me for classics and like intellectual opinions? I don't need to explain myself with that one. I think it's pretty damn self-evident. I need a boyfriend or girlfriend at this point because this is getting a little bit tragic. Anyway. Oh, I forgot to talk about the social contract. Hello. Sorry, you may recognize me from upcoming videos such as gay films for gay teens. I just realised I forgot to talk about a book. First of all, stay tuned for this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. But I forgot to talk about Rousseau's The Social Contract. I bought this because I've never actually read it. I've read bits of it here and there. I'm a massive lover of Voltaire. Many of you who've been subscribed to me for a long time will know that. So Rousseau is somebody who's been more of an acquired taste for me, shall we say. I felt like it was just time that I read this. Like, this is such for Western literature, for Western philosophy, for the 18th century, this is such a cultural touchstone that I have not touched. So I just kind of feel like this is essential for my own, I want to say literacy, but in terms of like a hole in the canon, this is a hole in the canon for me. Kind of buying it out of intellectual peer pressure, maybe, but it just feels like one of these things that I should have read, and was certainly one of these things that I was really confused as to how I did not own a copy of. Kind of like the other day when I was looking for my copy of Anna Karenina, only to realise I don't have one. Man was born free, and he is everywhere in chains. Yeah, you know, the kind of like the rules that govern our society, especially the, you know, not written out ones. Why do we behave the way we do, and why do we behave like that in relation to others, and like why we feel like these like mental rules exist even when some of them don't. You know, you can talk a lot about like guilt and shame, all that kind of stuff, how that like essentially can control you, can be controlling, for example. I don't know why I didn't own it. But yeah, if you're a student, this will always come in handy. Back to the video, but this video will be coming soon, so do stay tuned for her. Those are the books I have bought recently. I have really no updates on what I have read recently because I'm so reading Crime and Punishment. I will let you know as ever how I get on with these. If you enjoy book content, film content, I'm gonna do video essays, I promise. I just need to get my shit together. And vlogs, do subscribe, come along for the ride. Now they stop with the drilling as I'm ending the video. Great, thank you, that's fine. Let me know what you guys have bought recently, what you guys have been reading recently. If you have read any of these and you really rate them, or if you have books in the same vein that you really recommend, let me know. I'm sure we'd all love to hear it. Thank you very, very much for watching. Like, subscribe and all that jazz, and I will see you guys all really, really soon. Goodbye. It's one of those, you put it down and it's really difficult to pick back up. It's one of those, you put it down and it's difficult to pick back up. It's one of those, it's difficult. What are the words, Emma?